Hello everyone. My friends and I will be presenting our video presentation based on standard-based education in Papua New Guinea and how it contributes effectively to the PNG education system in the next millennium. As Nelson Mandela quotes, education is the most powerful weapon that one can have. Therefore, the standard based education paves the way in achieving the PNG education goal, the Vision 2050, and the Millennium Development Goal. My group and I will be presenting on the first topic, the role of SBC in promoting inclusive education and how standard-based education addresses it inclusively. Standard-based curriculum plays a significant role in promoting education by ensuring that all students, regardless of their background or learning needs, have access to quality education. Here are several ways standard-based curriculum contribute to this goal. Okay, here are some of the standard-based curriculum goals. Goal number one is personalized learning. Okay, the standard-based curriculum promotes personalized learning or individual learning by using variety of teaching and learning methods because not everyone or all the students learn in the same way. Students learn differently. Therefore, different varieties of lessons and teaching methods must be implemented. For example, some students are good in outdoor activities while others are good in the classroom. For example, taking students out on an excursion or, or field trip can be adventurous and fun for students, but it will contribute to effective learning or learning new things. Therefore, individual learning is very important in standard education because it helps everyone to learn better. Number two is cultural responsive concept. Okay. The standard-based curriculum promotes PNG ways by incorporating PNG diverse culture into lessons. This allows students to express themselves by sharing their cultural values with each other to promote cultural diversity. For example, up in the highlands, students in the highlands participate in a school cultural show by performing a dance from East New Britain province. Okay, this shows culture in sharing cultural diversity and respecting one another. The point number three is collaborative teaching approaches. The standard-based education promotes collaborative teaching approaches like co-teaching and group work. Collaborative teaching helps one another to learn, helps students and teachers to learn from one another. So collaborative learning is one of the very effective approaches where students learn to participate and work in groups to complete their task. Therefore, working collaboratively promotes equal participation in learning.
The roles of standard-based education in promoting inclusion, as mentioned by my friends, the points that she mentioned, here are some other points to consider. The next point is empowerment and agency. In empowerment and agency, SBC promotes agency over their learning, which makes them to set personal goals, select topics of their interest, engage in self-directed learning, which empowers autonomy for all students. It addresses barriers to learning. SBC provides a framework for identifying and addressing barriers to the learning that might exist in the school environment. For example, inaccessibility of materials and many others. It creates an opportunity to implement these strategies to break down these barriers, ensuring quality education. Okay, continuous assessment and feedbacks. SBC promotes an ongoing assessment and feedback, allowing for timely identification of learning challenges. Learning challenges may come in different forms. So in SBC, it promotes a continuous assessment and giving feedbacks to the facilitators to know the strengths and weakness of the students. The second part of our discussion will be about how standard-based education can be addressed inclusively. Firstly, it can be addressed through differentiated instruction. In differentiated instruction, in the standard-based education, teachers can differentiate the instruction to meet the diverse needs of students. This might include varying process or products based on students' abilities. For instance, content knowledge. Process the learning process, and the third one is the product of the learning process. Okay, flexible assessment methods. Standard-based education can offer multiple ways for students to demonstrate mastery of the standard. This flexibility ensures that assessment are one size fits all but are instead accessible to all learners. By offering oral presentation or project-based assessment instead of traditional written test. Also by providing extended time for alternate formats for students with disabilities. And finally, to use formative assessment to gauge student progress and provide ongoing feedbacks rather than relying solely on summative assessments.
Okay, I'll be continuing from where my friend has left. Uh, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is universal design for learning, or sometimes we call it as the UDL. A universal design for learning is a framework that promotes flexible learning environment by offering multiple means of representation and engagement and expression, which gives students the equal opportunity in the learning and understanding. Okay, in multiple learning, we are using different ways in accommodating every students, considering their strengths and their weaknesses and the things that they have in their way towards learning. So the first way that we can use is representation, which the information is presented in different formats like text or audios or visuals that help students to learn more effectively. And the other way that we may use to engage students is through engagement. So this is through learning experiences like group work, discussions, providing handouts for students so that all will be participated in the group. So we are engaging every student in a way we are promoting inclusivity. And the other one is through expression. So expression is allowing students to show ways or in which they demonstrate what they have, their own abilities, their strengths, like they may write some books or through the oral presentations or through digital presentations in which they may present themselves in their own pace and in their own understanding. Okay, the other way to promote inclusivity is through scaffold learning. So, scaffold learning is the breaking down of topics into manageable goals or ideas that can be grasped easily by the students. So, in this way, the teacher is providing a step by step guidance to the students so that it is easy to manage the students in their learning, and also providing materials that is appropriate for the students that they can use during the teaching and learning process. So one of the intention of inclusivity is to focus on growth and mastery. So this is not based on performance, but to master contents. The mastery of content is more appropriate in endorsing this inclusivity in schools, especially with the SPC curriculum that is now in place. In this way, the goals that is set forth can be met appropriately with good intentions. And the inclusive curriculum is also designed in a way that it be more culturally responsive for students that are engaged. So it is going to look at the cultural aspects of students, and also it will be more inclusive in including all students and students, especially those who are with disabilities. So the content is made available, that it caters for all students and not only for a particular group of students, but to cater for all students, that all students may learn and that goal of inclusivity may be achieved. And also there are collaboration and support systems in place as endorsed by the SBC and the government of today. So it is more specifically looking at the special education. In this way, they are trying to train teachers who are going to be specialized in special education, especially to develop students with special needs and students who are with disabilities, so that they may also be included. In that way, it is also going to meet the needs of every student, and the teachers' needs may also be seen as a priority. And in that way, the teachers must also be given priority in furthering the education with the SPC curriculum that is now being endorsed in the country. And also, there must be a positive dialogue or effective dialogue between the teachers, the parents, the stakeholders, and also the students on how the SBC is going to be implemented in different schools so that awarenesses may be carried out. And in this way, all of the people that are involved in carrying out the SBC curriculum may be in a better position to accept the changes that is happening in the schools and around the country as a whole. SPC is also addressing some barriers in our learning environment, in our learning society also. So SPC is trying to do away with those barriers. So some of the barriers that we may see are like the physical barriers, that is like the classrooms that we have, the materials, the accessibility of students with disabilities. Some of them are being disregarded in the schools. Some of the schools are not providing the physical environment that is conducive for students to feel better, to be in that environment to learn. There are also social barriers that are in place that inclusivity must address, like the emotional barriers, the support and cooperation from the social community is also important in fostering these changes in the schools. And also the language barriers, since Pamanigin, you can see that we come from different cultures with diversity in our cultures, and also the languages that we have, multiple languages in the country. So these diversities, we can say that these are barriers that are in the system today. So in that way, moving on with the inclusive education, we also try to address these barriers and try to make it more positive and make the environment more conducive for students learning, and it may be more inclusive for students to feel free to participate in the learning environment.
To conclude the points my friends have said, standard-based curriculum plays a significant role in promoting inclusive education through personal learning, which focuses on individual learning goals, cultural responsive context, incorporating cultural into learning, collaborating teaching approach, using of different strategies into lessons to make the lesson interesting, and addressing barriers to learning, identify framework and barriers in the learning environment, uh, and continue assessment and feedback, make room for evaluation and assessment. Addressing barriers in learning, identify framework to address barriers in learning environment, and finally continue assessment and feedback, make room for evaluation and assessment. SPC in PNG promotes inclusive education by focusing on accessibility, cultural relevance, and differentiation in learning. It aims to create more inclusive education system where every child can participate fully, and also to promote SPC standard pay to promote inclusive education. It requires every community to participate, society and nation as a whole.